My name's Bobby Joseph. I'm a writer, I'm a cartoonist, I'm an artist. I am also the Comics Laureate of the UK. I would also say that I was the first person of colour to become Comics Laureate. My career has spanned close to about 30 years. So when I was younger, we're talking 70s, I went to the cinema. From watching Superman the movie, I believed a man could fly. I became enthralled by these colourful images, these stories of comic characters. It just kind of clicked. And from reading comics at an early age, it taught me how to read and write. From then, I just collected anything I could get my hands on. X-Men, Superman, Batman, Teen Titans. When I was looking at these kind of comic books, they had these heroic heroes like Superman and Batman. I didn't get to see that many people of color in the actual comics. That was strange for me because, you know, I grew up in South London. The people I hung out with, the people I knew were all people of colour, black or Asian. So we had that. I really wanted to use characters that I knew, the people I grew up with, people I hung out with. When I saw the comics that were out, I was just like, where are the people of colour? So I decided to collect comics with characters of colour in them. I went and looked at Luke Cage, I looked at the Falcon, Black Panther, I looked at a variety of different things. There was a pattern that kept kind of emerging. Bar Black Panther, I found that a lot of comics seemed to be focusing either on sports, gang stuff, or a slave narrative. Back in the 90s, I was doing illustrations, I was in college. By chance, I met a book publisher named Dr. Nadibayo, who, alongside Steve Pope, were one of the first black publishers to put out black books in the UK. And they gave me the opportunity to write and illustrate my own comic book. We created Black Satirical Comic in the UK. Now, we wasn't the first, but we were probably the most well-known comic book. We created Skank, and Skank went on. It was a platform to launch people onwards and upwards. People that would not have got that kind of opportunity to write and draw comics. We got the opportunity to do the graphic novel Scotland Yardie. So I worked with the same collaborators that I worked with previously on Skank. We created a satirical graphic novel that looked at what the issues that were happening in 2015 and 2016. And at that point, we were dealing with Brexit, immigration, institutionalized racism, Black Lives Matter, police brutality. And we looked at putting that all together in this book and have a satire that looked at all these different issues. Scotland Yardie became the first diverse graphic novel to be part of the English Masters course at King's College London. It's intriguing for me to have people break down my work in the same way that I break stuff down in the classroom, because on top of being an author, I'm also a teacher as well. I wanted to be a writer, I wanted to do comics, and I got told from an early age, and we're talking about, what, 87, 88. I was told by my careers advisor at the point that to give up doing art, to give up doing kind of writing, but instead become a mechanic, because we always need good mechanics. As soon as I was told that, me and education didn't work. It didn't pan out for me. The irony being, I became a teacher, an English teacher, and I think that the way that came full circle was that the fact that I'm always encouraging children to be what they want to be. You know, if you want to be a writer, fine, go off and do it, but make sure you put the time and effort into doing it. If you want to be a mechanic, fine, go ahead, go off and do it, as long as you put the time and effort to do it. One of the great things about, say, the Express publishers, Dotton and Steve, because Dotton's from an African background, Steve was from a Caribbean background, is that they encouraged me, they encouraged the guys on the comics to be who they wanted to be. And we just expressed ourselves via that format many, many decades ago. When we were doing Skank, I'd looked at a lot of the kind of police out, kind of Lewisham and South London and stuff like that. And I always wondered why there wasn't people of colour that had joined the police. So one of the ideas was like, what if I did like a bad boy Jamaican cop, but in the mould of Judge Dredd? I remember the publishers Express, they had done a book called Yardie by Victor Headley, and then it followed up with a sequel, which became an Idris Elba movie. Originally I was going to go with something like a spoof on Robocop, like Ragacop or something like that. But then when I was talking to the publisher, you know, and he was doing Yardie, and then I think it might have been Dotton that said, oh yeah, then maybe Scotland Yardie like in a joke. And I thought, Scotland Yardie, that works, because we had the visual of the character, which was that had this character just like with his helmet, his long locks, and this kind of real intense kind of look. From then, clicked it on, and then the comic strip happened. And the way we always looked at the character was that he was just a no-nonsense policeman who just pretty much just did what he wanted. A kind of spoof of all those kind of cops on the edge, like Dirty Harry. I mean, visually he looked great, but he didn't have enough of a story for me to do. So my thing was to focus on his sidekick, which was PC Aki Saltfish, who to me is the true story of Scotland Yardie, because he's a character who lives by the rules, they're counterbalanced. The purpose of the Comics Laureate, I'm an ambassador for literacy using comics as a gateway. I think graphic novels help children to read. It can actually help build those literacy skills. I'm there to encourage and promote the medium as best as I can. The passion I have for comics, you know, it's been one of my greatest loves.